Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into something today that honestly sounds kind of like it's straight out of medieval history, but actually it's like super relevant to all our digital lives. It's called techno-feudalism.
Techno-feudalism.
Yeah, it's like imagine a world where instead of controlling land, the new lords or whatever, they control like your data.
Oh, wow.
That's the basic idea here, that we're maybe shifting away from like a capitalist society, and moving towards this new type of feudal system, but like dominated by, all the big tech companies.
Oh, I see.
We're going to explore how this theory like applies to our everyday, online stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll unpack what it could mean, what the consequences of this whole shift might be.
That's a fascinating idea, yeah.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to dig into this. It might sound complicated at first, but trust me, we're going to make it clear and, keep it engaging.
Yeah, I think that to really grasp this whole techno-feudalism thing, I think it's important to, to first kind of lay the groundwork by comparing it to like the systems that it draws from, which are, like traditional feudalism and capitalism.
Okay, so let's like time travel for a second.
Yeah.
What were the main differences between these two systems?
Okay. So feudalism, it was all about like a really rigid hierarchy. You had kings at the very top and they controlled like all the land. And then there were lords who were, giving control over parts of that land. And then you had serfs, basically peasant farmers, and they were tied to that land. They had like very little freedom. So their wealth and their power, it came from controlling people and resources, not from the kind of like market transactions that we're used to seeing in capitalism.
So basically, like your whole destiny was pretty much like determined by where you happened to be born.
Yeah.
Right. And like which piece of land you were like tied to.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't exactly a system that encouraged social mobility.
Not at all.
No. Now, if you fast forward to capitalism, the focus shifts, right, to free markets and competition and individual ownership. People can own businesses, they can trade stuff, and they can like make wealth through, their own efforts. And at least like in theory, anyone can climb the economic ladder if they work hard and are innovative and,
Right. Like the classic, like, the American dream story.
Yeah.
But this whole techno-feudalism thing, it suggests that like this ideal of a level playing field, it's being threatened like in this digital age, right?
Yeah, that's the core argument. This theory says that we're seeing power becoming more and more concentrated in the hands of just a few like tech giants, and it's moving us away from, all those capitalist principles that we just talked about.
Okay, so is it fair to say then that the companies like, I don't know, Google, Facebook, are they like the new lords of this digital age?
It's a provocative question for sure, but I think it gets to the heart of this theory. So let's look at how these companies, might actually like fit that feudal lord analogy. They basically own and control the digital land, right?
Yeah.
And by that I mean the platforms and the online spaces where, we basically do so much of our lives these days, from social interactions to, getting news, shopping online, entertainment. Like we're increasingly living in these digital domains, and they're owned by these companies.
That's so true. Like how many of us can actually like go a full day without interacting with at least like one of these platforms?
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
But how does this control over digital space, how does that translate into them like actually extracting wealth and labor in a way that's different from like traditional capitalism?
Right. Well, that's where things get really interesting. Think about all the data that you generate just by using these platforms, right? Every post you like, every article you share, every video you watch.
Oh yeah.
It's this like treasure trove of information, and these companies they collect it all. And this is the crucial part. They monetize it.
Yeah.
They use it to, target you with ads, obviously, but also to train their AI algorithms and even to predict your future behavior.
Wow.
But you, as a user, you're basically providing all this valuable data for free just by engaging with their platforms.
So are we like the digital serfs in this analogy?
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I think it's a really compelling analogy, and one that people who support this theory, they use it a lot. It highlights this idea of users as digital laborers, constantly creating all this valuable data without actually being paid for it, not directly. And it goes even beyond just individual users. Think about the rise of monopolies in the tech industry.
Hmm.
You have just a handful of companies that dominate entire sectors, and that makes it incredibly difficult for new companies to even compete. And that doesn't really sound like a free and open capitalist system, does it?
No, no, really. It
Oh,
sounds more like they're building like digital empires with really tall walls and heavily guarded gates.
yeah, exactly. And it really underlines this core part of techno-feudalism,
Yeah.
this idea that data is the new land. Just like land ownership was, like the foundation of power in feudal times, control over data is becoming the new currency of power in the digital age.
So it's not about owning physical property anymore. It's about owning data.
Yeah.
That's the new path to wealth and influence.
Right. And these companies they're sitting on like mountains of data that they can use to shape our whole online experience and predict our choices and ultimately make a ton of profit. It's like owning all the fertile land in a whole kingdom and reaping the rewards while everyone else is struggling to even grow a single seed.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
So it's more than just like targeted ads, right? How
Mhm.
else are they using our data to actually make money?
Right. Well, targeted advertising is definitely a big part of it, yeah. But it's not just about showing you ads. It's about using your data to predict how you're going to behave and to try to influence your decisions.
Wow.
And it goes even deeper than that. Your data is being used to train these increasingly powerful AI systems that are becoming part of like almost every aspect of our lives. And these systems they're getting smarter all the time,
Right.
more capable. But the question is who is actually benefiting from all this intelligence?
Right.
Is it the users, the people who provided the data without even knowing it, or is it the companies that control the algorithms?
That's a great question. It does feel like there's a pretty big imbalance of power here.
Yeah, and that power imbalance is exactly what this whole techno-feudalism critique is all about. And it's not just limited to data collection either. Let's think about this idea of digital rent seeking.
Okay. Digital rent seeking. I like that.
Remember paying rent to your landlord?
Well, in the digital world, big tech, they're charging a kind of rent too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this digital rent.
Okay, so take Apple's App Store for example, right?
Yep.
So developers who want to sell their apps through Apple's platform, they have to pay Apple like 30% of their revenue.
Wow.
So is that really a free market when Apple has like complete control over the platform and gets to set all the rules?
Right.
Or consider Amazon, and how they dominate e-commerce. Third-party sellers basically have to pay Amazon for visibility and to be able to like reach customers. It's less about competing on a level playing field and more about paying for the privilege of even participating in this digital marketplace.
It sounds like they're controlling all the toll booths on the information superhighway.
Exactly. And this extends to other areas of our online lives too. Google and Facebook, they practically have a duopoly on digital advertising.
Yeah.
If you want to reach customers online, you have to pay them a fee to use their platforms. And then there's this rise of what we call platform capitalism, with companies like Uber and Airbnb.
Right.
They don't own the cars or the apartments, but they control access to those resources and they take a cut of every transaction.
So it's less about like owning physical assets now and more about owning the platform and then getting to set all the rules of the game. Is that basically what digital rent seeking is?
Yeah, you got it. These companies are finding ways to make profits through control rather than through traditional competition. And this control, it extends even to the algorithms that shape our online experience.
It's funny you should mention algorithms because like I've often wondered Have you ever felt like your life is being controlled by an algorithm?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's YouTube recommendations or Instagram's algorithm or even just search results, it feels like these invisible forces are constantly shaping what I see, what I think, and even like how I make a living online.
Yeah, no, I think that's a real thing, and it's another crucial aspect of this whole techno-feudalism idea. It's this idea of algorithmic control,
Yeah.
and these algorithms they're often so complex and opaque, and they determine what information we see, the opportunities we have access to, and even like our potential to earn money online.
Hmm.
It's not just about seeing personalized ads, it's about your entire online experience being like curated and controlled by code that you have no control over.
It often feels like you're constantly performing for the algorithm, like trying to please this invisible force so you can get more views, more likes, more engagement, and it's exhausting.
I totally agree, and that's the really insidious part of it. It creates this pressure to constantly create content, to stay visible, to engage in this digital economy, even if it feels like unpaid labor, like you said, constantly dancing to the tune of the algorithm just to survive in this digital landscape.
It makes you wonder with when the rise of the gig economy and platforms like Uber and Fiverr and all these,
Right.
is the way we work, is it actually evolving for the better, or are we kind of going backwards in some ways?
That's the big question, isn't it? I think the gig economy it has this allure of flexibility and independence and all that, but it also has this darker side that we can't ignore. Workers are increasingly dependent on these platforms that control their wages and their access to customers and even their ability to work at all.
It almost feels like we're circling back to those days of serfdom where workers were just at the mercy of their lords.
Yeah, there are definitely some unsettling parallels there. I mean, gig workers they often lack the job security, the benefits, and the stability of traditional employment, and then you add in this looming threat of AI and automation, and it seems like the power dynamic between workers and platforms is only going to become even more imbalanced.
This is where it starts to get like a little dystopian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's important to understand, what could happen, what are the potential consequences if this techno-feudalism thing is left unchecked. And one of the most worrying is this potential loss of economic freedom.
Right.
If big tech controls the entire digital marketplace, they basically get to decide who gets to participate and who gets shut out. And being deplatformed can literally mean the death of a business in the digital age, and that power it rests in the hands of just a few powerful companies.
It's almost like being banished from the kingdom in the digital age.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not that far off. And another thing that's worrying is the potential for more digital surveillance and control. We've already seen examples of this in China with their social credit system,
Oh, yeah.
where citizens are constantly being tracked and scored based on their online and offline behavior. And it makes you wonder, could we see similar systems starting to pop up in other parts of the world?
Right.
And how might those systems be used to control and manipulate people? It's definitely something we need to think about, think critically about.
It sounds like something straight out of a Black Mirror episode.
Right. And finally, we can't ignore the psychological and social effects of all of this either. The constant pressure to perform online, the anxiety around likes and engagement, the feeling of always being watched and judged. All of this takes a toll on our mental and emotional well-being.
It's like we're all living in a digital panopticon, constantly performing for these unseen overlords. But surely there's hope, right?
Yeah.
There must be ways to push back against these trends.
Yeah, there is hope, but I think it all starts with awareness and with understanding the problem.
So it's not all doom and gloom. Are there concrete steps we can take like reclaim our digital freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And recognizing the problem, that's the first step.
Right.
And luckily there are like a bunch of promising solutions and movements out there that are trying to address these very concerns.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear. So we've talked about, decentralization and regulation and ethical AI. What does all of that like actually look like in practice? Like, what are some tangible things that individuals can do to like push back against this whole techno-feudalism thing?
Well, one really powerful way to get involved is by supporting organizations and initiatives that are working towards a more decentralized internet.
Okay, yeah. Can you give us some like concrete examples? Like what kind of organizations should we be looking for?
Yeah, there are groups out there that are tackling all sorts of things, like decentralized social media platforms and peer-to-peer file sharing networks and open source alternatives to the software that we use every day. Just to name a few.
So it's about like diversifying our digital options
Yeah.
and not being completely reliant on the big players.
Exactly, yeah. By choosing to use and support these alternatives, we can contribute to shifting the balance of power, away from these huge tech giants.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, what else can we do, as individuals to like make a difference?
Another really critical step is becoming more aware of our own data and how it's being used. We need to be more conscious about the information that we share online and who we're sharing it with.
Yeah, it's so easy to just blindly click accept on those cookie notices without even thinking about it.
I know, right? We've all done it, but it's important to actually like take a moment and understand what we're agreeing to, and we can also look into using privacy focused tools and browsers that help limit data collection.
So it's about being more mindful of our digital footprint
Yeah.
and taking active steps to protect our privacy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about taking back some control over our digital lives.
You mentioned regulation and antitrust actions earlier. What can we do to make sure that our governments are taking the right steps to address these issues?
Well, we have to make our voices heard.
Yeah.
Contact your elected officials and tell them that these issues are important to you.
So like write letters, make phone calls, show up at town halls, those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. It's about making it clear to our representatives that we care about these issues, and we also need to support candidates who are committed to breaking up monopolies and protecting user privacy and fostering a more equitable digital economy.
So it sounds like it's going to take a pretty big effort from individuals and organizations and governments to really push back against this trend.
Yeah, it absolutely will. But it's a fight worth having. The stakes are incredibly high.
Because what's at stake is nothing less than the future of our freedom and autonomy in the digital age.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Techno-feudalism it's not an inevitability. It's a choice. And it's a choice that we make collectively.
So it's not just about like escaping to some off-grid cabin in the woods and disconnecting from technology altogether.
Right. That it might be an option for some people, but it's not the only way forward. We can choose to actively shape the digital world that we want to live in. We can build a future where technology empowers individuals rather than concentrating power in the hands of just a few.
I love that vision. But let's be realistic for a second. I mean, these tech companies, they're incredibly powerful.
Right.
They have like almost unlimited resources and influence. Do we really have a chance to like make a dent?
Absolutely, we do. I mean, history is full of examples of people coming together to challenge these seemingly insurmountable power structures.
You're talking about like movements like the American Revolution and the Civil Rights Movement and the fight for women's suffrage.
Exactly, yeah. Real lasting change. It happens when people recognize their collective power and demand it.
That's incredibly inspiring. But how do we create that kind of that kind of movement around something as complex and let's be honest, kind of abstract as techno-feudalism.
Well, we do it by making it real for people,
Hmm.
by connecting those abstract concepts to people's everyday experiences and showing them how it directly affects their lives.
So it's about helping people understand how techno-feudalism is personally impacting them. Like how it might be limiting their choices, their opportunities, even their freedom.
Precisely, yeah. When people understand how these systems are directly affecting their lives, they're much more likely to become, engaged and demand change.
It's like the old saying, the personal is political.
Exactly. We need to make this fight against techno-feudalism personal.
And it all starts with education and awareness,
Yeah.
right? With conversations like the one we're having right now.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why these kinds of discussions are so crucial. It's about getting people to think critically about the digital world that we're creating and the power dynamics that are at play.
So what are some of the key takeaways that you want listeners to walk away with from this deep dive? What's the aha moment that you're hoping to spark?
Well, first and foremost, I want them to understand that techno-feudalism is a real and growing threat to our freedom and autonomy in the digital age.
Yeah, it's not just some far-fetched conspiracy theory. It's
Right.
it's something that's already happening all around us.
Exactly, yeah. And secondly, I want listeners to remember that this future is not inevitable. We
Yeah.
we have agency, we have choices, we can shape how the internet evolves.
We don't have to just sit back and passively accept whatever
Yeah.
whatever these tech giants decide.
Hmm.
We can push back and demand something better.
Right. And lastly, I want people to realize that we all have a role to play in building a more equitable and democratic digital future.
Yeah, whether that means supporting decentralized technologies or advocating for stronger regulations or even just being more mindful of our own data. There are so many ways to get involved.
Exactly. The future is not preordained.
Yeah.
It's something we create together.
Those are some really powerful words to end on. I feel energized and ready to take action.
That's fantastic to hear.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something that's been on my mind throughout our conversation. We've talked a lot about the negative aspects of techno-feudalism, but are there any potential benefits or upsides to these technological advancements that we should be considering?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one that I think often gets overlooked. It's important to acknowledge that these technologies they have brought about some incredible advancements and conveniences in many areas of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about things like instant communication and access to information and online learning and telemedicine and even just the ability to connect with people all over the world.
Exactly. Yeah, these are all incredibly valuable tools that have undoubtedly improved our lives in countless ways.
So it's not about rejecting technology altogether. It's about being smart about how we use it and ensuring that it ultimately serves humanity rather than the other way around.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about finding the right
A
balance
balance between innovation and
and
ethics,
and between progress and responsibility.
between convenience and control.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a complex equation for
Yeah.
sure, but it's one that we need to figure out if we want to create a truly equitable and thriving digital future for everyone.
Those are some wise words. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into techno-feudalism. It's been a truly eye-opening and thought-provoking conversation.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey as well. We hope that this episode has given you a better understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that we face in the digital age.
Yeah, we encourage you to keep exploring these issues and to join the conversation about how we can create a more just and equitable digital future.
And we'll be back next week with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep fighting for a better digital world.
Yeah, it really does feel like this whole techno-feudalism thing. It all boils down to like reclaiming our agency in this digital age.
Hmm.
It's about recognizing that we actually have choices about how we participate in these systems, and that we have a responsibility to help shape them in a way that benefits all of humanity.
I think that's a really good way to put it. It's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right. It's about using it consciously and intentionally,
Yeah.
and demanding that it be designed and implemented in a way that aligns with our values.
So we don't need to like become Luddites and smash our smartphones.
Yeah.
We can be thoughtful and engaged citizens of the digital world.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about understanding the power dynamics that are at play, and recognizing the potential, risks and benefits, and working together to build a digital future that we can all feel good about.
That's a great point to end on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been an incredibly insightful conversation.
Well, it was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive into techno-feudalism has given you some food for thought, and maybe even inspired you to take action. Remember that the future isn't set in stone. We all have a role to play in shaping it.
Yeah, the digital world is still evolving, and we have the power to make it a force for good.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep fighting for a better digital world.